This is Bear With Us podcast.
Can we add Gurrrl? I mean, we aren't all manly like you.
Okay. How's this? This is Bear With Us, girl.
No. More like Gurrrl, like a glitter bear.
This is Bear With Us, girl.
Perfect. This is Bear With Us, Girl, where we stir the honeypot with hot topics, body issues, the adult industry,
Fashion, news, pop culture, pup culture, and more.
from the bear perspective.
For and by the community.
I can barely stand it. Get it?
You're unbearable.
I still feel like you're embarrassed by that.
I'm not embarrassed. I'm waiting for you to either make a joke about it or because you're always watching me now for my reaction.
I know. I'm like, is he going to crack a smile? What's happening today?
I won't give you anything.
No, you don't. Okay, I have to know. One of our porn friends is in a sugar daddy situation.
Okay.
And I was going to ask, could you ever be in that kind of situation? And it's not like, oh, he's paying for like a few hours. It's like lifestyle sugar daddy.
I mean, I think you already know the answer of that is no. I barely even want to date as it is, let alone date somebody where they're expecting to give me something. Plus, also, I personally believe that I can support myself, and I love that about myself. So to have somebody even just to try and give me a gift, I get uncomfortable with.
Really?
Let alone a sugar daddy where it's literally gift on top of money. I would never let it happen.
Well, he showed up to Sunday Funday in a new BMW. I'm like, can I get a sweet and low daddy? Can I get something?
I mean, at least I will give him this. At least he actually is getting a real sugar daddy. Because I've known friends who are,
And there's affection in there too, by the way.
Well, no, I've known friends who have been like, I have a sugar daddy, and they're like, he's like, yeah, he paid for my Starbucks. Like, that's not sugar daddy, that's sugar free.
Yeah.
But there is actual affection, and the porn star does care. Would they be with him without the money? Maybe not.
No, but there's also lots of quote unquote regular relationships where the person wouldn't be with them
that's true.
without the money
That's very true.
or without the looks, because at the end of the day it's all a give and take. You're bringing something to the relationship that this other person may or may not have, and so that's why it's like, if you literally are mainly in there for money but still care about them, they're probably also mainly in it for you because you're young and good looking but still care about you.
Yeah.
It's a trade-off.
Yeah, that's 100% true. I have the worst luck. I always date somebody that doesn't have a job, is still living with their mom, or something is always wrong. I've never dated somebody on a certain level. I don't know why.
That could also just be, I mean, in Los Angeles there's a lot of those people.
Yes.
Because a lot of people come to LA with like
Big dreams.
Yeah.
Dreams can come true. Anyway, speaking of dreams, we are talking to the dream couple, the RR Bears, today. And the show is brought to you by Cybersocket.com, the ultimate resource for gay erotica. Visit Cybersocket for our Adult Star exclusive interviews, free clips, fun contributions from our team of porn star bloggers, event listings, and of course, Ask Chad, porn's answer to Dear Abby. Go to Cybersocket.com.
And we're also sponsored by Gurrrl Magazine. Gurrrl Magazine is the only lifestyle magazine celebrating the global bear community in all its glorious, diverse beauty. Head over to bearworldmag.com to check out the great berry content, packed of berry news, interviews, and gossip.
Also look for Teddy Bear and me are going to be with Bear World Magazine in Key West in November.
Yes, we are.
What's the weather going to be like?
I don't know. It's not November.
No, but you've been to Florida. Like, you've been there many times.
I think by then, that is during hurricane season.
Great.
So we may die.
Well, and I know you can only take me in certain doses. Can you imagine if we get like hurricaned in for like a week?
Oh no, I'm gonna swim.
Teddy Bear is in the hurricane. All right, let's introduce the RR Bears, currently living their lives in their bear cave in downtown Los Angeles. They've been together for 7.5 years, have been pretty much recording since they kind of got together, what we're going to talk about. Decided to take it to Twitter around March 2020, have quickly become fan favorites. They love the positive messages their fans send, and we're a bit surprised by their success. They've been blowing up everywhere. Please welcome Robert and Ravi, the RR Bears.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Hey, girl. So before we get into it, let's do our public service announcement. You guys were actually supposed to be in studio, but Monkey Pox has gotten into the situation, and Teddy and I were talking about this. Like, not enough people are getting information about Monkey Pox. So, do you want to talk a little bit about how you got it and what you're doing about it and how we can take care of ourselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had gotten contacted by somebody who said they had tested positive. I saw them on this previous Sunday, 7/3, and then they told me on like Tuesday that they had got back home and tested positive. So then I proceeded to wait to see if I had any symptoms, and then I had a fever start immediately the next day. And so then when I tried to call the Department of Health and try to set up something to maybe see if I can get a vaccine, a test, or anything, like they weren't answering their phones at all. So I went down to the LA County, the closest one downtown LA, and went up there, told them exactly what happened, showed them the Dallas Department of Health notification that someone had come in contact, showed them like the Daddyland Festival one that's where it happened, the email, and they were just like, yeah, we just don't have it, and we just don't give it to people right now.
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
What is going on?
It's so embarrassing because, for example, in New York, it's there any single person like can get it. You don't have to even say why you need it. It's handed out. San Diego has it right now. San Francisco is handing out. LA, literally, they started giving it out last week by like secret message you weren't supposed to know.
Well, the only reason I found out was because you texted me. They were gone by the time I could have gotten them.
I literally was in line, and like the last 3 behind me were when they cut off because all of LA ran out. Which I'm like, we're not a small town.
No,
we are
no.
literally in all the United States. It goes New York and Los Angeles for epicenter of like disease. No, I mean for diseases and things that spread.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, like, not to be selfish, but as far as like San Diego goes, we should have gotten more vaccines because we actually are the epicenter where it's spreading. San Diego, it's not spreading there. So they're literally having vaccines that they're throwing away.
Yeah, I'd say that's more of a bad planning part on the actual like department here.
Yeah,
I feel like everyone else just kind of actually did the work, and then I think the ball was dropped somewhere in actually getting the vaccines here.
And the stigma is still, it's a bad gay's disease. Like, you're a bad gay. If you get monkeypox, it means you're a slut.
Well, here's the thing, though. Most recently, there was a straight woman who got it, and then like the next day, the CDC announced that they're like, we're going to ramp up the vaccines across the country.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, now that a straight
familiar.
white, I was like, a straight white girl's in trouble. Oh,
very
now
familiar.
pay attention.
Oh, straight white women are the worst, especially when they come to our gay bars.
Well, that's what we should.
Just kidding. We love you, allies.
No, that's what we should have did to get the vaccine faster. We all should put on wigs and been like, I'm a straight white girl and I have a disease.
It's my bachelorette party at the Abbey.
And I have all these little dots on me.
Anyway, well, thank you for sharing that, but also thank you for being responsible. I can't tell you, a few friends have been like, oh, I've had a sore throat and a fever for a few days. I'm like, well, what the hell are you doing? You're still like going out and stuff. Be responsible.
Oh yeah.
I've seen.
The second I got the text.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Good.
Oh yeah. So like the second I got that test, a text that saying it was positive, I'm like, and I'm not leaving the house anymore.
Yeah.
So how long do you have to? How long do you have to quarantine for?
Well, pretty much it's until after the scabs fall off of the lesions, and then you're fine.
Sounds
Lovely.
romantic.
Yeah.
What a romantic time for you
I
both.
know.
Now, are you guys?
Thankfully, I was spared.
Do you live together or do you live separate?
No, we live together.
Girl,
but,
7.5 years.
And we got
a
pretty well divided to where we can have our spaces, etc.
Okay,
but
so you're not going to go
I was
crazy.
spared because also at the same festival I wasn't really running around as much, and I've been kind of on like sex hiatus.
So we know who the bad boy was. Bad boy Robert. Bad bear.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
It's all pre-approved. So I know exactly
you were patient zero in that relationship that weekend.
Yeah.
But this is the dynamic of the relationship that we're going to talk about. You know, more and more we're having honest and open conversations about poly relationships or open relationships or even thruples. And even like 5 years ago, it was like, oh, you know, there's stigma. Now it's become like a normal part of conversations in gay and straight couples. I want to know how you, well, I kind of know you guys were kind of coming off of other relationships. You met off of Scruff. So tell me, like, what attracted you about the other person's profile and what the first date was like?
Oh my God, if I could remember what was even on each other's profile at the time. I just remember the picture. I just remember him looking really cute. And we just started talking and chatting over Scruff, and that was really fun and made each other laugh. And then think we got on a phone call, and then we set up a date at Gym Bar when it used to be on the old location, obviously.
Yeah.
And the date went great.
Well, clearly.
Oh yeah, ended up leaving that date outside. We were both had exes living with us at the time, so we ended up outside of my apartment just making out for like 4 hours.
So when was the first time you kind of like consummated that relationship?
10 dates later.
Oh wow, you guys are
Yeah.
I've actually noticed with people that are naturally very sexual, when there's like an emotional side to it, usually you tend to wait a little bit longer.
It was definitely not out of wanting to wait. It was out of necessity and just like 'cause we did not have a place to have sex with each other.
I mean,
Oh yeah,
there's your car, there's the woods.
I know, there's a hotel.
I mean, it's true.
Your
but-
bears.
It's true.
Go in the woods.
If a bear fucks in the woods, can you still hear it?
Yes, because it's being recorded for OnlyFans.
Now,
Yeah.
what would have happened if you guys finally had sex and it was terrible? Or when you put that much pressure on sex, sometimes it doesn't go well.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, thankfully it didn't. It was great. And I mean, if it goes terribly, I don't know. Usually give it a couple extra tries to see, for sure. Especially if you like the guy.
I know. Also, like originally, he was just hoping that I wasn't a big bottom.
He's like
He's
verse.
like,
You're
"We'll
like,
see, I guess."
yeah,
True.
right. Now, were you in open relationships before this relationship?
No,
Oh wow.
Not at all.
not that it didn't stop it from being secretly open, but yeah.
Well, see, but that's the worst. It's like, I don't care as it happens as long as we're communicating about it. So what point in your relationship did you have that conversation with each other saying, hey, this is how I'd like to be with other people. This is the kind of sexual relationship I want with our relationship. What point did you have that conversation?
It was about a year and change in, and it wasn't just like fully into going open. And it was definitely kind of more on my side because Robert had a lot of more like sexual encounters than I had by a fair amount. And it was kind of like as much as like, you know, we were having a lot of fun and stuff. I was more I was interested in like threesomes or having sex or broadening that a little bit. And Robert was totally down for accommodating that. And then it kind of expanded from there. And kind of making up new rules and seeing what we were comfortable with. And because a lot of times, like I was, like as much as I started being opening up, Robert I found was a lot more comfortable with like the give and take, and I would sometimes get in my head and be insecure. And once that stopped and I got over it, it definitely became a much more comfortable place.
Do you ever miss being monogamous or not really?
No, no.
Not really. Because also like while yes we are open, we still always like check in with each other and see how the other one's feeling. And then there's some times where we just don't feel like having sex with other people, and we just only have sex with each other for a while. So it's really just kind of like as it feels.
Yeah, because definitely as the like, you know, when it's exciting when it's like, oh wow, I could literally be anybody. So you kind of try that out.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just kind of like once you realize that you're kind of having more often than not bad sex, you're just like, this is kind of not even worth it anymore.
Yep.
It's not worth the time put into it, definitely, and all that stuff. So you kind of just, you know, develop some regulars hopefully, and just people you feel comfortable with, and that's like kind of the best scenario.
That's literally perfect.
So far.
Like, people always ask me, they're like, "Oh, you must have like tons of sex like outside of like filming porn," and I always tell them, no, because the time and effort put into
It's hard.
No, not even that. It's just the time and effort put into like if you were to try and pursue random hookups. More often than not, it's a bad sexual experience where you're like, I don't want to waste my free time doing that. I'd rather just the sex I'm having be for work that I know is going to be good because there's other people that do this for work too, as opposed to trying to meet somebody on an app that you're just like, God, this is awful.
Well, I have to tell you, there's so many games that are being played on the apps, especially Grindr used to be like a quicker thing. Now it's taking like a week or something. It's like, who has time for that? Thank God for Sniffies, but then now people are playing games on Sniffies too. It's like, bitch, I know you're across the street.
Oh.
And asking 20 questions on Sniffies, like, what are you up to? I'm like, hell, what?
Yeah, I'm watching
You
soap
know what I'm up
operas.
to.
Yes, it's like, come on. Now, at what point in the relationship did you say, "Hey, let's kind of put this content out there. Let's let people into our bedrooms." In terms of like filming your sex.
It was basically right at the start of pandemic and things starting to close.
It was a
because
week before it's really shut down. Yeah.
yeah, pretty much. Because I think the big thing was we had a couple friends who had like started their Twitter, had good size on their Twitters, and was like getting promoting events and then just getting kind of like free wristbands to shit. And we're just like, well, we don't have to pay for parties, so why don't we do something like that? And then that led to us being like, okay, well, we got a good sized Twitter following quick. Let's see if we get to a certain amount and we can start maybe doing OnlyFans, because we figure we've sent enough videos and pictures and shit like in all kinds of platforms, whether it's
Over the
Instagram,
apps, yeah.
Growler. So it's just like the stuff's out there, so it's not
Hmm.
like it's anything to hide. So we're like, why not make some money off of it?
But there had to have been some trepidation, because once it's kind of put on that kind of platform, there's certain connotations, there's certain stigma. I think it's getting better, but even a couple of years ago, it's like, oh,
yeah,
they have an OnlyFans.
Yeah, definitely. Because it was definitely talking me into it. So it didn't just like, oh, we came to the idea in March and just kind of said, let's go. It was Robert warming me up to the idea with subtle hints, and then finally being like, I think we should just do it. See, it's like it's working for our friends and they're making this much, and that would pay for this, and then we wouldn't have to worry about this, rationalizing it, and too much to our benefit. We did it.
I always tell all my friends that, like, especially that are couples, I'm like, if you guys want to have your vacations be paid for free, just do OnlyFans. I'm like, it's literally like,
Yeah.
even if you're not making it your full-time job, if you're just doing it like while you go travel, it pays for your plane and your hotel.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, and during COVID,
And
it
like
literally kept.
bills and stuff. Yeah.
Well, yeah, during COVID, it literally kept people in their houses. It kept food on their table. So it's like, why would you be?
Thankfully, I was able to work from home and do that, so I was getting the good double whammy there.
Now,
So not bad at that.
does your work mind you doing OnlyFans?
When I was working there, but they didn't know, and I don't think they would have cared at the time. I was working as a contractor for Google, and they just are not in your business at all. They just kind of let you do whatever you're gonna do.
Okay, yeah.
So, and then we were working from home. That was easy, and also on top of that, like, there aren't many couples that really do it online. There's more now than there were, but when we started, like, there were so many single people quarantined, and so they couldn't have sex with each other. So we kind of were able to be one of those few people creating content that was actually intercourse.
That's true.
And so I think that definitely worked in our to our favor too.
Has it affected any of your personal relationships, either with friends or family?
Probably.
I mean, not that they tell us to our face, anyways. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Like I was pretty upfront with my siblings that what was going to happen. I don't really talk much to my parents at all, so I really didn't care if they found out. But once I told my siblings, especially because I have two gay siblings,
Yeah,
they
you had to warn them.
See something. Yeah.
What's their phone numbers?
Block us real quick.
I need phone numbers. Now, has filming your sex life, has it changed your personal sex life? Is what we're seeing exactly what's happening when you don't have the cameras rolling? Has that affected that at all?
It pretty much is as it was or used to be, or like I don't think we change anything much. There definitely is those moments where like, should we be filming this? And like should we stop what we're doing and like go get our phones or something? And sometimes that could be like no, or it'll be like we haven't made anything in a minute, let's just do it really quickly and then get our phones. So that's like I would say the one difference.
Being together for what, 7.5 years, almost 8 years, what would you say are some of the biggest obstacles that you've had to work through as a couple? Because when you hear a 7.5, 8 year relationship, you're like, what? It's like a unicorn.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would definitely say the biggest obstacles are just kind of us still working through our own shit, and that creating problems in our relationship. Like I mentioned before, things with insecurities, past traumas inflicted on bad boyfriends and situations, and just kind of acting those out. And those were definitely the more tougher points, but I would say like by and far, because we lasted so long, is because we just click so well. We get along. We're each other's best friends, and so there was so much at stake for us to lose that whenever an obstacle did come around, it was always surmountable in our eyes.
I like that.
And yeah, I think both of us too. What helps is we're both kind of go insane if we don't know what's going on in the other person's head. If it feels like something's wrong, we're like,
Yeah.
you better tell me what's wrong immediately, or you're not leaving the room.
Yeah, there definitely are those times where it's like we're just like not talking to each other, or there's because life is too short to spend more than an hour being like feeling that way. So
Amen.
Now, the both of you have become a brand onto your own, the RR Bears. How do you maintain, and the joke is like, are they brothers? Because they look alike. I know a lot of fans.
I don't know. That's bear discrimination.
Once you've seen one bear, you've seen them all.
Because like you guys both have a beard. That's the only thing that I think.
Fans literally ask it all the time. We're like, are they twins?
Oh,
Are they brothers?
I believe that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, people are so
Yeah.
stupid. Like, what do you say to people when they say
loves
that? Oh, really?
yeah, they think we're twins.
Yeah.
I think it's us being almost the same height too,
Um,
and so that
Yeah.
kind of I think gives it to
And
people.
roughly the same width too.
Speaking of TSA, by the way, I just came back from the airport, and when I was walking through TSA, the guy stopped me because he saw my shirt. He goes, enjoy bear. Wait, why bear? What does bear mean? And I go, hairy guys. And he goes, enjoy hairy guy. You enjoy hairy guys? I go, yeah.
Imagine.
He goes, oh.
He's like, next.
Have you guys ever had a moment going through TSA where they pull out something in your luggage and they ask you, what is this used for?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think it was your hose. Was it?
No, they pulled out your penis pump.
Oh, my penis pump. That's right.
Oh
That's
my
what they
God.
called. And they're like, "What is this?"
What did you say?
I think tell the
Well,
truth.
I think you said
literally-
exactly what it was.
I was like, it's a penis
Yeah.
pump.
And they're like, "Oh, it gets the line moving real quick."
And they drop it real quick.
The only other time we got stopped was I think I had a bunch of protein bars and I wrapped a set of headphones around it to keep it tighter together because that's all I had.
That's a bomb.
And they thought that was a bomb for
Yeah.
sure.
They're like organic
They're like
material and
organic
wires.
material with cord.
I always have a fear going through TSA when they're scanning it that somehow I'm going to accidentally have a bomb. I know I don't have a bomb. I don't know how to make it, but I'm always afraid, like, what if this is the time that I accidentally packed one? I didn't realize it.
That's funny because I always think about I don't do drugs at all, but I always have this suspicion that maybe somebody borrowed one of my friends borrowed my luggage
Dropped
or
in
somehow
there.
it got
Yes.
in there, and I'm like, do you know what? I'm not scared about somebody finding like vibrators, whatever. Not that I travel with them. I don't use sex toys, but that wouldn't bother me. You know what? Really, I get sweaty every time. I'm like, they're gonna pull out my foundation, my bronzer, my makeup pack, and all that. I'm more concerned about that.
About femme shaming.
Yes, isn't that funny?
That's what I'm hoping they find in ours.
But I want to know, in building this brand together, known as the RR Bears, that's your Twitter. You guys are famous for being together. How do you kind of keep also your personal identity? It's like, I'm Robert, I'm Ravi, because I know that that's also an important part of being a couple is still maintaining kind of like, I am my own person. I have my identity. I need time to myself. How do you work through that kind of? It's like, yeah, I'm more than just the brand.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely apparent with all our friends and everyone we meet in person because they immediately tell that we're definitely not the most alike personality-wise. As far as Robert being, I know I'm talking a lot during this interview, but usually I'm never talking. But I'm posed with questions, and so it makes it easy. But for the most part, I just kind of sit there and watch around, and people think I'm really mean, but not really mean, but kind of mean.
People always think the introvert is mean, and you're
Yeah.
literally you're like, no, I'm just over analyzing every single question and thought in my head right now.
I get that asked all the
I'm
time. It's
always
like,
just
is
like,
Teddy Bear
should I
nice?
be here? Am I having fun?
Does
Am I
everybody
having
hate
enough
me?
fun to be here? Yeah.
And me, I'm just like an extroverted extrovert, so I could just be flitting around a crowd, a room, saying hi to a billion people in the middle of a conversation, saying hi. I enjoy. I get energy from being around people, So when they see me and then vastly contrast Ravi, who's in the back of the room staring at people.
Yeah.
Now-
Or I like to do a wander. I like to wander through the party,
Yeah.
see what's going on.
Now,
Yeah.
Him and says hi.
Do you guys do you guys have separate Instagrams, or are you that couple that's combined as only one as a couple?
they have
Oh no, we have
Separate.
separate Instagrams.
Thank God.
The Twitter's the only thing we have together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
Now, does that affect, like,
yeah.
let's say you bring a third into the bedroom or you're going to film a scene. Do they assume, Ravi, that you're going to be, like, the quiet, dominant one, and Robert, that they assume you're going to be sexually, like, you kind of have to, like, change people's expectations of what they expect from you?
I think we're pretty usually upfront. I mean, a lot of the times we're talking for a while, and nothing's really just scheduled like a meeting.
Oh, okay.
You know, like in the classic sense.
Yeah.
Is where it's just like meet at this time and be there, and it's more just kind of like getting to know each other a little bit, and through that being like, you know, what do you want to do? And sometimes if I'm not feeling up for it, or vice versa, like we'll let the other person know, and then also let them know it's like, you know, so and so isn't really feeling well, or so and so and isn't really feeling up to doing this, or doesn't really want to, and no one has ever been like, oh my God, is it me or anything? It's just kind of, everyone usually is respectful because, I don't know, a lot with the, you know, adult content / porn industry, I think a lot of people are just like a little more comfortable and secure with themselves. And so when someone says no, they know it's not about them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what helps too is since we are a couple, we could just be like, you know what, one of us is just not feeling it, and it just, they know that like we communicate, and if we're not into it, we're not into it, or if one of us isn't into it, then maybe like I might just film, or maybe Ravi just might film with the person.
Yeah,
because we still do like one-on-one content with other people too.
Right.
yeah.
Do you feel like your fans ever sometimes overstep their boundary by getting involved in your actual relationship and trying to like dictate things on how they think your relationship is working or way one person is? Or do
There's
fans...
definitely little comments, and I never respond. I have a pretty hardcore like never respond to people. If it is aside from literally just saying like thank you, or you know, very very basic stuff. Just because like I think it's a slippery slope once you start. It's not retaliation. I think it's too strong a word. Just
giving them power.
And yeah, exactly, and kind of giving them a voice. I think it can really spin out of control because in no way, shape, or form do I think I'm capable of changing somebody's mind.
And also, like, you can't do a rebuttal on a troll because they're a troll for a reason. They'll just keep going.
Yeah.
They'll get off on it.
I just hope some of the other people, because it has happened before where other people that are fans of us have literally just done the work for us.
That's
and
awesome.
like reply and be like, what the fuck are you talking about? All that stuff.
The bear hive.
Yeah.
And do people make assumptions when they see you at like a bear event or something that's like, oh, they're automatically going to want to fuck, like, you know, and start touching you inappropriately? Do you get a lot of that?
It's hard to say, like, a
Depends on
lot.
where.
It's definitely, yeah, it depends on where. There's definitely been times where I'm just like, oof. I mean, Fort Lauderdale's that place, but I don't even think they recognize who we are or everything. I think they're just like that down there.
Yeah, they're just horny.
Yeah.
To all the Fort Lauderdale fans out there. But there's definitely been times when it just is like, you have to still kind of, there almost seems this pressure to be like smiling and still be friendly, even though it's like, if it was before this, I probably would have been like, get the fuck away from me or something of that sort.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely, because I don't know, you just don't want a bad interaction to be like somebody say something. I don't know if that's always in the back of your head or not.
I know I definitely.
Go ahead.
Always mindful of how we're interacting with people, and it's always because I always see somebody as a potential subscriber and also a potential reviewer.
So would
you don't want to be known.
Would you say that? Would you say that you're
Yeah.
afraid of being like canceled by an interaction of somebody?
Yeah, because it can always happen, and it's always hard. It's always tough to be like, when do you step in and say something? When do you step in and stand up for yourself? And like, when does it become out of control? I haven't really, the ones that I've seen happen, because there were many, especially during 2020, regarding either people hanging out with each other, breaking quarantine, or just people being straight up racist because of all the riots going on during that time. And those were just definitely a lot of cancellations that probably needed to happen.
I want to talk about your experience with the bear community. I know Teddy Bear and I have talked about our own personal. At times we felt inclusive with the bear community. Sometimes we haven't. Have you always considered yourself kind of a bear, or what point in your life where you're like, oh, I guess I'm part of the bear community now?
Probably whenever we hung out with any of our WeHo friends, we used to live there. Everyone referred to us as the Bears. So
It's like just because you have
that's
a
pretty
beard.
much how that started.
Oh yeah, because we
bear
weren't
communities.
necessarily. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say bear communities definitely vary from city to city and dynamic, and there's definitely some that are friendly, some that are inclusive.
Which is
and
your
some that are not, and
favorite
there's
bear
bars.
city then?
Honestly, LA's pretty great. I would say like
Really?
I don't have a lot of bad interactions with people here from the bear community. I definitely say there's been some places where it depends on where. Honestly, there's like a different attitude, and there's definitely places I haven't been. Like we've never actually had like a trip in our adult lives to New York City, so we haven't gotten to explore that.
Have you guys done P-Town yet?
We did
For Spooky Bear.
back in 2019, and that was pretty fun, but it's probably nothing compared to like their actual Bear Week.
Yeah, you guys would love Bear Week.
Yeah.
It's heaven. It's literally like Bear Disneyland.
Yeah,
Yeah, because the only big one we've been to, we went to CJS Bear Week
Mhm.
2019, and that
That was
was
amazing.
just mind-blowingly phenomenal.
Yeah, that was so much fun.
Have you ever had any pushback from the bear community? Like, you're too fit to be a bear, or, you're just a muscle guy? Because I think
Not-
Recently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
recently I know I haven't
Same.
but I don't read many comments, but I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
I don't know about you.
I've been seeing them pop up a lot more over the last year.
Mhm.
Ever since, like started losing some weight and just putting on muscle. They're just like,
How dare
you look
you?
too skinny,
Yeah.
or
How
I
dare
like
you be
better
healthy?
chubby. Yeah, exactly.
That's such a passive aggressive comment too. You're like, I like
Yeah.
you better chubby. You're like, one, you're saying that you don't like me now. Two, you're saying that I was chubby, which maybe I never thought of myself as chubby. So like nothing about that is a compliment.
But a
mean,
lot of that's happening in the bear
yeah.
community is because during COVID, myself included, we were ordering Postmates twice a day. That's all we had going on. So we're out of COVID. I cannot lose my COVID weight to save my life. And I know this is happening with a lot with the bear community. So when they see people that are getting fit, they naturally get angry and they get self-defensive. Like when Rebel Wilson lost all her weight, all these people were like, oh, well, she's no longer a representative of that you can be big and beautiful in Hollywood. And she's like, that was her life choice. She can do whatever the hell she wants.
And it's also such a weird thing to shame somebody for making a personal health decision.
Well,
Like-
that,
Yeah,
and
'cause
we're
it's
supposed to be
definitely,
inclusive.
I don't have to use a CPAP at all, which is really nice because my sleep apnea was like hellishly bad. My dad runs a lab, and I had to do a test, and like it was so bad, and I was convinced it didn't have anything to do with my weight. But then once I did just lose weight, kind of just as we were living more in Los Angeles and just lifestyle changes, Robert was just like, yeah, you don't snore anymore. And I'm like, it's real. I mean, I actually can get good sleep now. So that's definitely a plus.
So where
I
are
wouldn't
you
change that.
originally from?
I'm from Colorado. I'm from Boulder, Colorado. That's where I grew up.
Oh, okay.
And I grew up in LA, good old LA County.
Oh, wow.
Come on, native LA.
So odd whenever I meet people like that. It just seems like that doesn't exist.
I know, right?
I mean,
Rarely do I meet
was
more
it crazy
people.
crazy growing up in LA as like a teenager? Like, were you like, I don't know, getting high at age 5 of celebrities in the hills?
God. Yes, that's what
Oh,
every LA kid's doing.
just watching his parents. No, I'm kidding.
No.
Wow.
Seriously.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, I'll say growing up wasn't necessarily the most pleasant because I didn't have necessarily the best upbringing. But I moved out of my house the month I turned 18 and just decided to live with the boyfriend I had made at the time and just make it on my own because I just couldn't be there anymore.
Mhm.
Heavy, like hardcore, like born again Christian family,
Oh, Lord.
God.
and 3 out of 5 kids are gay. So I was like, that's fun.
I mean,
that's hilarious.
Yeah,
I love that karma. Be like,
that-
you're gonna be so conservative. Aw,
Yeah.
you get a faggot. You
Yeah.
get a faggot. You get a faggot.
and that's God's way of saying,
Literally.
Seriously.
have you had the discussion about doing studio porn?
Absolutely, because we filmed with Deviant Man before, and we've kind of shot a couple things where we've just sent to people. It would really just be if the opportunity and the price was right.
I mean,
usually it is. Like honestly, it's pretty standard, and like we just haven't either asked people enough or haven't been asked enough, and I don't. And we just need to like. I would be definitely down for it.
I mean,
Oh yeah,
if you
'cause
guys
also
if you guys do want, I can refer you to one of the directors for Raging Stallion. But I will
Yeah,
I will tell you the honest truth though. Like there is, if you do studio porn, you're doing it to have a memory of a very good looking video and image of yourself. As far as money, the money there is just meh. There is no money in studio porn anymore.
And they're still going to say, "Hey, shave this, wax this, be this way, a
Uh,
certain way."
Raging Stallion, Raging Stallion won't do that, and the directors for Raging Stallion won't do that. But if you guys tried of like Man or Falcon, they would.
I mean,
yeah,
I don't know that
definitely.
I know of like big bear personalities that are making it with Raging Stallion. I still think that there is an image there.
No, they still promote mainly the fit, mostly hairless guy.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know.
So that is
Yeah, of
that
course.
is definitely the most. Like whenever you go to any big porn website, if you go to like the top rated video, that is what you see.
I mean, think how many times there's like in the studio porn they say this guy's a bear and it's a hairless guy of like 5 o'clock like stubble.
That's right.
Oh,
mean-
yeah,
so many times.
Yeah.
Some people have won awards for being Bear of the Year.
Trust me, I've lost best bear awards always to a hairless guy, and I'm always like,
It's like best bear, Johnny Rapid.
yeah.
yeah.
So we have a few rapid fire type questions. People knew we were going to be chatting with you today. What is the most unbearish thing that you guys do? It's like, this is not our persona that we have on video. It's like, I don't know, watching soap operas or something. What's the most unbear thing?
Huh. I mean, I think we go out a lot more than regular bears do because we love a circuit party.
Circuit bears.
Yeah.
Circuit bears.
Yeah.
Glitter bear.
There's
We're
a
known kind
Care
of as, like,
Bears.
we're known as like more like the circuit bears in LA. Like kind of everybody in the crowd knows
There's
who we
a
are.
group. Yeah.
Okay, another rapid fire. Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh,
I
okay.
couldn't even think of anything else.
What is the worst gift you've given each other that you're like, thanks, it's the thought that counts? Every couple has given that gift that you think it's great, and the other person's like, what the fuck is that? Maybe they haven't even told each other.
The problem is I don't really.
No,
we don't really
I would-
give each
I would-
other. I don't give each
Because
other
we buy
gifts
a lot of.
lot.
Yeah, we buy a lot of gifts for each other just as like I'll be like, oh my god, he'd love this, and so we just kind of get it for each other.
That's
Because
the
it's
way
not
to do
very
it.
specific on like our birthdays. The only thing I can think of is Robert buys very what's a practical gift. He's like, you really said you needed this, so this is like what you should have. Like I think
Like
one was to get me
tires
the
or
best
something?
smoking-
Socks.
Yeah,
A Roomba.
literally.
Exactly.
I like that though.
I'm a
To get me
utility
to
gift
stop-
giver.
That's how
Yeah.
that's how gifts should be. It's always the worst when they buy you like little tchotchkes and things like that. You're
I
like,
love tchotchkes.
no, you're like, no, buy me. I don't know. I want a new toaster or something.
Yeah, it would be something like that.
You would hate,
It'd
you
be
would
like
hate my house.
yeah,
You would-
automatic can opener. Amazing.
And what have you learned from your partner the most?
Oh, I like that question.
For me personally, I've learned to say no to people and just in general a lot because I was definitely always very much like a people pleaser and like kind of at my own detriment in like past relationships and just life where I'd overextend myself or helping other people and really not focusing on myself. And Robbie was always just like, why do you always just say yes? You need to start learning to say no to people. He's like,
That's
I
so
say no to
important.
everybody most of the time. And look, I'm doing fine. And that's definitely helped me a lot in my own like, because I get anxiety a lot, and it definitely helped a lot clear that up.
I definitely say from Robert, I've learned just like how someone can, come from such a pretty heinous upbringing and just be so kind and loving and
I love
happy and genuinely happy to be, here and present. And, I struggle a lot with depression. I'd say that's the opposite of that feeling. And so learning that for sure.
Thank you for sharing that, and I love also it's okay to say no. I know when you come from a family that rejects you, you come to LA, and then there's body types and there's cliques and there's all that. You always want to be pleasing, and especially you guys putting it all out on social media. That's also another form. It's like no, part of your mental health is saying no. These are my boundaries. This is what I'm into. I care about myself enough that I'm going to be able to say no to certain things. I think a lot of people don't get to that point. Even in relationships, people are in sucky relationships because they're not honest about what they want, or they can't just say no. I don't want this.
Absolutely. There's been times, I've seen or heard from couples that are just like, oh yeah, we're doing the open thing, this and the other. And then next thing you know, we get like a call or a text or somebody saying, spilling their tea, being like, oh, I guess they weren't really comfortable with that. And so one of them was just pacing around upstairs and like sending the other one text or something. Like you hear a lot of crazy stuff from friends that are also trying, to be open and all that stuff. And we get asked a lot by a lot of people, and we're just like, it is both simple and difficult at the same time to be constantly open and be also like really brutally honest about it, because you're only doing yourself a disservice by being anything less than that.
Amen.
I mean,
also like there'll be times where like I maybe like want to go hook up or something, and Robbie might not be in the best mood or need my attention, and I'm always willing to just let say a hookup go, because in the end, like Robbie's like my most important thing, and if I need to be there, I can find a hookup another time, So it's just, and not feeling like, oh my God, we're open and you're not letting me do this. It's just being empathetic towards your partner's needs.
Yeah,
I've known that it sounds like you have such a great communication, which is the foundation of any relationship, friendship, family, lovers. But there can be resentments, such as. I've heard from certain couples that also put material out there that it just becomes about the sex, and it's overtaken every other aspect of the relationship, and they wake up thinking about, okay, the sex part, film. They go to sleep with that, and that's become their center of their whole relationship. It's like they forgot that they were...
There's some OnlyFans couples, too, that I've noticed that actually hate each other. But their persona and their brands are to look like they love each other, and it's I think the best thing you can do, just like you said about saying no, is staying true to yourself, and like if you stay that way in a relationship, it will always work.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That would be really tough to do, to stay doing that stuff well if you hated each other. That would be really difficult. Like we naturally, I'd say it has become all about the sex, like because we genuinely do like having a lot of sex with each other. So it's never really a problem. It's just always a problem of whether or not we get it on camera.
Exactly, which is why you just need to have like 24/7 security cameras going.
Oh my God!
I need the CCTV up at all times.
That'd be so convenient.
It would make it a lot
just
easier.
like Big Brother style, if it just always filming you. That'd be really hot.
Inappropriate things I say, I watch.
Well,
Like
that's why you have an editor. It's
like,
it's not live.
He's watching The Bachelorette again. Yes, my friend. Would you guys ever consider having a throuple, like a legitimate, not like a threesome, but would you ever consider bringing another person into the fold?
We've definitely talked about it, and the idea of us both being into someone equally and enough to have them come in seems like a very rare thing. So, I never say never, but I'd say by and far we've agreed that like that seems like a very unattainable situation for us. Having someone more like poly style, where it's like if Robert or I wanted to date somebody, that definitely is fine with us, I think.
So what's the difference between poly and a throuple?
Well, throuple is more like that's a three.
We're both into them.
Okay.
We're both into them. We're all into each other, and we all kind of like very much equal say in what's going on in our relationship. Whereas a poly, if Robbie has a boyfriend, I don't really have influence on their dynamic and also I'm probably not necessarily going to be really that much into that. If Robbie had a boyfriend.
Yeah, and also if it's like the emotional connection's not there, it's like, yes, we'll always be respectful and friendly, etc. As long as it's returned in kind.
Exactly.
And so, yeah.
I want to know, because I know some relationships that have been together for a while, they want to start exploring bringing a third into the bedroom or having an open relationship. What tips would you give if you're that person that wants to start exploring that? What tips do you have for somebody broaching that subject? Because I know some couples, the other person would automatically think, oh, I'm not hot enough for you anymore. There's all these issues. You've already been cheating, blah, blah, blah. What's a good way to kind of broach the subject?
Well, in my opinion, like you really need to have a solid foundation of your guys' self, meaning you have to have stamped out most of your insecurities in your relationship, because the second you bring in another person, it's like all those will come to fruition really quickly.
Yes.
And you will start seeing them, and because as much as in your head you might think, yeah, well, this is fine, we can do this,
Or it's going to save the relationship. Yeah, I know some couples that say this will save our relationship if we're able to have more sex outside. It's like,
That's like
well, no.
That's like having a child.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what it is. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
So that's the gay version of being a parent. Okay, cool.
Being open is the gay version of being a parent.
And also, like, what would be your advice for somebody if your partner says, no, I don't want an open relationship, and you really do? Is that time to break up, or what do you do?
Yeah, it is.
I would definitely say it's definitely time
You didn't even
to.
give it a minute.
I'm
Like it's been a month already. What's taking so long?
No, just like, yeah, you could do it like that. It's like, hey, would you come around to it? Or maybe there's a way to start opening that up if it was more like, well, why don't we try flirting with other people? Because I don't know, we both definitely, it's kind of freeing in that way. So you're not constantly feel like someone's like looking at you and being like, did you flirt with that person? Or did you hunt that person too long and stuff? Like having those like restrictions lifted is just kind of nice, because there are always going to be people that you're going to find attractive, or you're going to want to talk to, and this, that, and the other, or want to make out with even. And like it's that shouldn't be like something to break up over. However, if someone feels really that strongly and you don't feel that strongly, like you have to understand, like if one person doesn't want the same thing in a relationship, that means you both don't want the same thing.
That's true.
Yeah. Do you have any last questions for RR Bears?
No, I mean, just like the comment on what you last said. Like back in my hometown, I remember last time I visited, there was this one of our neighbors. She divorced her husband of 25 years, and they loved each other because she caught him kissing another woman. And I remember hearing that, thinking, you're going to leave your best friend of 25 years over a kiss.
Honey, kissing was not the only thing that they were doing.
No, and I'm being serious. I genuinely do believe that. In a conservative town, something as scandalous as that is even better than sex. That, trust me, they were telling the truth. But I just think it's so sad that there's so many couples that like end their relationships because of that, instead of just doing what you guys said about like, communication and talking, deciding like, what do we want to do? What do you want to do?
Well, yeah, because it definitely has to be down to that. It has to be. You can't just also be foisting an ultimatum right away. It has to be kind of like, well, I need to see how I feel about this, because it takes more than a couple minutes to process information like that, and you have to really be honest with yourself, and it is hard to do that sometimes.
And with any relationship, it evolves and changes. People evolve and change.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. We're totally different people than what we were when we first met. Absolutely. And then for the better, I
totally
hope.
different.
It's funny.
Yeah, because like for us, it's been a lot of us is just working through each other's past traumas and relationships together, while also working on our own relationships. And we're kind of now at a point in our relationship where we're doing our best to like find our own independence in our relationship and what it means to be us as individuals while still tending to our relationship too. Yeah.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, so much for spending your time with us, especially recovering from Monkey Pox. We definitely appreciate it. Where do you want everybody to find and follow you?
Twitter, we are at RR Bears. Link trees on there. OnlyFans is /RR Bears. Just for fans /RR Bears, and then my Instagram is Robert LA. And then Ravi is at Seeing Eye Pig on Instagram.
I love it. And your content is so hot, by the way. I'm a huge fan.
Thank you. We appreciate that every time we hear it.
Honestly, I mean, like when people come up and tell us, they're like, "I hope this is okay," but like, I jacked off to your videos or I loved your content. I'm like, well, that's why we make it.
Yes.
That's the point of it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like let's all be honest about that, and let's take the stigma away. Teddy Bear, where can people find and follow you?
You can find me on Instagram at Mr. Teddy Bear Gurrrl and on Twitter at the XXX Teddy Bear.
Rawr. You can find me on Instagram at AlexanderIsOnAir. And that's another episode of Bear With Us, Girl. We're growing this podcast, so comment, rate, subscribe, all of that stuff you do with podcasts. You can also watch us on YouTube. Send us your questions and comments, by the way. We love reading them. BearWithUsGirl@gmail.com. And it's 2 R's, by the way, girl. And we'll see you soon. Thank you, gentlemen, so much. I can't wait to meet you at a
Thank
Bear
you.
Circuit party.
Thanks for having us.
That has been another episode of Bear With Us, Girl, presented by Bear World Magazine and Cybersocket.com.
Please take a moment to like, subscribe, comment, rate, all the love and support you can give, guys.
Questions, comments, and suggestions? Email us at bearwithusgirl, 3 R's, @gmail.com.
Until next time, embrace the fur.
Grrrl.